The Burrows of Berea is a conversational podcast. We study the Bible and we talk about it.
Not all of us are of the same faith, and one of us doesn't actually have a faith.
And that's wonderful. We all love one another, and we're going to continue to talk about these things.
The things we believe in and the things we believe about what we read in the Bible. Not all of these are necessarily true. Some of it is opinion and speculation. Thank you for
listening and speculating with us.
There you go. That was good. Yes.
You are listening to the Burrows of Berea.
Welcome back to the Burrows of Berea. I am Rick Welch, and to my left is Billy Eye Candy Kimsey.
There's no wrong way to eat a what?
And Sarita the Rita Edgerton.
Hello.
Hello. Behind the glass is Rocket Man Andy Bishop. And Cherry the Annihilator Lewis.
Here I am.
That's 2001, right?
That's exactly right.
Okay,
I couldn't find any other intro music. Like, there's no more. Like, I was trying to find like wrestler
My husband's
intro.
a Gamecock, and he graduated from USC.
Yeah.
And so when we left our wedding, that's what we left to, was 2001.
serious?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Really?
great. I love it. Love it.
What does that have to do with the Gamecock?
That's their run. They run out on the football field with
really?
that music.
So that's
Yeah.
their intro.
Mhm, that's their intro.
I'm never doing that again. I'm a Tigers fan. I'm just kidding. I'm not. Oh yeah. Like there's this one. It's like you know what I'm talking about?
Nope. Not a clue.
Maybe I'll do that.
Do that again. It has nothing to do with Esther.
Get that
Jeez.
on camera.
Anyway, well, we're back. We have finally gotten to chapter 5. We don't have Ralph Hicks, by the way. Ralph is in San Antonio, and so
He's
he'll be
a busy boy.
He is always gone. Man. And now he's down in the state that wants to secede from the Union. Have you guys read that?
The Texas, yes.
Texas,
Yeah, but that's like one of those things where my whole life that's been a thing, and it just flares up sometimes.
That they
and
want to
then goes
secede
away.
from the Union?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's literally been
They
it.
want to
like
be
a
their own
thing?
country
our
again.
whole lives. Yeah, our whole lives.
Yeah.
No,
They were
they
a
is
republic.
a strong word for.
Some of them want
Right.
to. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody
I'm using their
outside of
pronouns.
Austin,
Yeah, there you go.
right? Everybody outside of the city of Austin wants to secede.
And Dallas and Houston.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
This-
the major metropolitan area is pretty fine with being a part of the U.S.
That's funny.
Well, except their murder rates are real high. But other than that,
Right.
They
Yeah,
fit right
Texas-
in then, don't they?
Yeah.
That's fair.
Well, we're getting into Esther chapter 5, and this is when this story is getting ready to start turning a little bit. So far, I'll give you guys a recap where we were in the last episode. So Mordecai had refused to bow to Haman, which caused him to unleash hell, right? So he's going to eradicate all the Jewish people, and he sends out the decree that can't be reversed. Mordecai is in sackcloth and ashes at the gates of the city, like right there where he's not supposed to be, wailing deeply in anguish, and Esther sends out her eunuch, Hatak, one of the king's eunuchs, to communicate. They're going back and forth, about why are you like this? Here, change your clothes. No, I'm not going to change my clothes. I'm not doing this. And don't think that you can escape, Esther. Just because they don't know you're a Jew doesn't mean that you will escape. So maybe for such a time as this, you were put in that position. And so Esther decides and commands Mordecai, tell everybody to fast. And so they've had this, that's what they've done up to in chapter 4. They've done this fast where they've got 3 days. And if you remember, I said it was the 14th, 15th, and 16th of Nisan, which happened to be the days that Christ was crucified and was buried, and also that third day when he resurrected. So it's kind of unique. It's on that same time frame. And so what we're getting ready to do is we're getting into chapter 5. And Sarita, if you don't mind, would you read verses 1 through 8, please?
On the third day, Esther put on her royal robes and stood in the inner court of the king's palace. And in front of the king's quarters, while the king was sitting on his royal throne, inside the throne room opposite the entrance to the palace. And when the king saw Queen Esther standing in the court, she won his favor in his sight. And he held out to Esther the golden scepter that was in his hand. Then Esther approached and touched the tip of the scepter. And the king said to her, "What is it, Queen Esther? What is your request? It shall be given you even to half of my kingdom. And Esther said, If it please the king, let the king and Haman come today to a feast that I have prepared for the king. Then the king said, Bring Haman quickly so that we may do as Esther has asked. So the king and Haman came to the feast that Esther had prepared, and they were drinking wine after the feast. And as they were drinking wine after the feast, the king said to Esther, What is your wish? It shall be granted you. And what is your request? Even to the half of my kingdom it shall be fulfilled. Then Esther said, My wish and my request is, if I have found favor in the sight of the king, and if it please the king to grant my wish and fulfill my request, let the king and Haman come to the feast that I will prepare for them, and tomorrow I will do as the king has said.
Thank you, Sarita. So whenever I was reading this, I read it over and over. I love to just like see what kind of sticks out. And the thing that really stuck out to me is how important it was for the author to tell you where the king was sitting. Did you notice that? Did you notice how it says, Esther put on her royal robes and stood in the inner court of the king's palace in front of the king's quarters, while the king was sitting on his royal throne inside the throne room opposite the entrance to the palace. Don't you think that's kind of interesting that, like, we don't know what the palace looked like? Like, why was he so descriptive? And I think, in my opinion, this is the central point of the most powerful man on planet Earth. This is the biggest empire. This is the king. He's sitting on his royal throne. This woman has put on her royal robes. She is getting ready she's trying to be seen by him. But let's not forget that she hasn't eaten. She hasn't even drank anything for the last 3 days. Have you ever tried to not drink something for 3 days? I mean,
You would die.
you will after the third day, right?
But I don't know that that's literally true. I think that's probably just like a heroic dose of not drinking.
Yeah.
But you would be miserable though. Your energy would be, you would be frail. You'd be lucky if you could stand. I'm not sure that that's literally accurate.
Yeah. Well, I think it is. And I think that whenever she stands up and she's going to this place, she has been so focused on the mission at hand, which is to get an audience with the king. And just keep in mind, just because she gets an audience with the king doesn't mean she's going to get exactly what she wanted. And so now we're looking at like what possibly could happen here. So the author wants you to know he's the most powerful man, and we know that we can approach the throne boldly. Now, as believers, right? We can approach the throne boldly, but she could not. She could not do that. So she could have been turned away. She could have been killed. This could have been the end of the entire Jewish race, which is the lineage of Christ. I mean, this is unbelievable. This is a very pivotal moment. Like, this matters. This really matters. And he wants you to know where it's at. And so she goes in and she touches the scepter, right? And we talked about it touching the head. It looks like she's touching the scepter.
I think.
Does she put her head to the
she
scepter?
She inclines her head to it. I did a study one time where they said the words were she touched her forehead to it. He puts it out and she touches her like she's bowing or curtsying or whatever, and she touches her forehead to it like this.
Oh, so she's put her head on the microphone if you can't see. So it's being touched to the forehead there.
But I don't know. I wasn't there. I'm not that old.
No. So do you guys remember in the holiday kickoff whenever I talked about that throughout this book, even though in our English versions we don't have God's name, it's not mentioned, but I said that there are acrostics, YHVH, or for Yahweh or Jehovah. Well, these acrostics show up in different places. The first one that we saw was in chapter 1, verse 20 of Esther, and that's whenever the prince was speaking about how that if he puts the decree out, then the women will respect their husbands. Like, that's what's happening. Well, in this chapter 5 is when the second acrostic shows up. And so in English, well, actually, I'll try to say it in Hebrew. It's like Yabo, Hamelech, Haman, Hyom. It's let come the king and Haman this day. So this acrostic is happening when Esther is speaking. It's a quote. And she's asking for them to come and have dinner. So this is her, without a request, it was a request. I want to give a feast. Remember, she hasn't eaten. She's been fasting. So remember I told you guys, like, pay attention to feast, fast, feast, fast, feast. Like, there's feasting and then there's fasting and then there's feasting. But so even though the name of God is in an acrostic for the Hebrews, and they would have seen it, and if this was passed around an empire where they weren't supposed to have this literature, they would be able to see that in these stories. They would see this. We can even find it. We can understand that God's there in our own language, right? So hey, Cherry, do you have the notes?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to ask you to read it in a version that you normally don't read in because it's in our notes. Unless you want to look it up, you can. I don't care. In Proverbs, chapter 21, verse 1, I'll give you the time to find it. She's going to the KJV, which actually sounds better in the KJV, honestly, than the ESV to me.
Proverbs 21.
Proverbs 21:1.
The king's heart is in the hand of the Lord, as the rivers of water. He turneth it whithersoever he will.
Right. So in my modern English, it says the king's heart is a stream of water in the hand of the Lord. He turns it wherever he will. So in this case, when Esther goes to try to find favor, what causes the king to actually turn her way and to see her in the way, I believe, is from the Lord. He turns the heart of the king, correct? So God's still there. And you still have your Bible open, Cherry? Can you go to Psalms 23:5? There's something else that happens. This is really cool. So she has asked him to bring people to the table. Haman and the king. That's what she's asked for, right? All right. So check this out. Everybody knows Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Most people know that. Listen to verse 5.
Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over.
Boom. Now, so Esther is asked that she could have this dinner, right? So not only does God turn the heart of the king so we know he's there, but also he's getting ready to prepare a table for her. For Haman, actually, in the presence of Haman. Haman is the enemy of the Jews. That's what he's called in this book, the enemy of the Jews. So at this moment, she's asked for this. He said, I'll give you up to half my kingdom, and all she wants is a table prepared with a feast and to bring the enemy. That's what she's asking for. But it's kind of weird because...
Yeah, she's got him whooped.
Huh?
She's got him whooped.
He loves her, doesn't he?
Yes, queen.
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh my goodness.
I think all the women should note right here, if you want your husband to be like, yes, queen, you better pray that the Lord turns his heart.
Well, she didn't go into battle unprepared, did she?
No.
She prayed and fasted
Yes.
and didn't drink anything. She went into battle
She brought out the big guns.
not equipped as the world would equip her. But Yas Queen, she went in prepared.
I mean, there's also the physical aspect of like dehydrating yourself and not eating for a couple days.
Yeah, she's probably
Like-
looking hot in her royal robes. Yeah.
And models literally do that for like swimsuit and shots like that involve things like that. They intentionally dehydrate themselves and reduce their diet further than normal for like swimsuit shots and stuff like that.
I'm gonna
Because
try that.
you get all the water off and you look inhumanly good. As if you're starting as a 10 and then you spend a couple days like just dehydrating yourself a little bit and eating less. That's the
You become an 11?
you become an
I was
11.
going to ask, when do you become looking like
That's
a
the-
meth head? Or
That takes a couple more days.
So
That's when you had
did,
smoking the cigarettes like models.
Yeah,
Did I read somewhere they hadn't seen each other for like 30 days?
that's right.
Like
Yes.
in your notes or
Yeah,
somebody's notes?
she says to Mordecai, besides, he hasn't seen me in the last 30 days.
Yeah. So it is Yas Queen.
so she was really looking
Yeah,
hot after she went
yeah.
on that diet for 3 days, and he ain't seen her in 30.
Well, but he was able to pull from his concubines.
But
Oh,
he
yeah,
has
yeah,
some
yeah,
other
he's-
people
yeah.
Now you know,
to entertain
all
him.
them other hoes don't mean nothing to me. You're the queen.
Yes, Queen. Wow.
Touch your head to the scepter.
Yeah. The tip.
The scepter.
Sorry.
That came out.
What'd you say? Just the tip? Oh my gosh.
We'll probably bleep that. I'm sorry. I couldn't.
Man.
Whoa.
So she asked
You
the
read it,
king.
though.
Yeah,
It was in the Bible. I was reading the Bible.
right. So she asked him, bring Haman and let's have a feast. And so it says that he commanded Haman to come quickly. I mean, he's really excited, like, yeah, get her, let's do this. So Haman comes, and then they have this feast, and then the next thing you know, Haman is doing what the king loves to do best, which is getting wasted. Mm-hmm. They love to drink wine together. And I thought about that. And maybe Cherry, you probably might, or maybe you, Billy, I don't know. And Sarita, I have no idea. But have you ever met people that have like drinking buddies?
Yep.
You know what I mean? And it's like they kind of get that special place, you know, like they're the drinking buddy. And so I've worked in places like in my career where they hire one of the owners hires their drinking buddy and then puts him in a place of power. Do you know what I mean? It's the weirdest thing. And that's what it feels like with Haman in relationship to King Ahasuerus. Like they're drinking pals, you know, he puts him in there. I don't know why this man was loved so much, but he was, and they like to get wasted together.
Because he gives him money.
Right.
He gives him money, and without money, he can't go to war.
He boasts his ego, too.
Yeah, that's true. Now,
and then they get drunk, and he goes, guess what? I offer her half the kingdom. Yes, sir. You get half the kingdom, okay?
Yeah, and then the other thing that I noticed, I was just really paying attention to the language here. Did you notice that she said, when he said grant the request, and she said, will you come tomorrow to the next feast? Did you ever consider the fact that maybe the king had an agenda and couldn't be there the next day? That either he had to break it to be there. I know maybe it doesn't matter, but that's kind of a risky thing, right? She finally gets the ear of the king, and she says, I don't want to tell you what I want yet. Can you come back tomorrow? Let's do this again.
But you know what, though? Wait a minute.
Let's hear it.
But this guy.
Yeah,
this guy. Every time somebody tells him, like, oh, just do this, and he throws out the decree like it's nothing.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like he has this, to me, this mindset of, I just do whatever I want. He doesn't really think through any of his decisions anyway.
Yeah.
So my thing is, if she's already got his attention and
he does come off like a puppet in the story.
And she says, hey, well, can you come tomorrow? He's like, okay, you know?
Yeah, because he's going to give her half his stuff.
He's like, he just frivolously throws stuff out.
I'll drink more wine tomorrow.
Like, there's no, it's just like, whatever.
Okay. Yeah. She's going to ask me for baubles and gewgaws and doodads and knickknacks and
I'm the king.
New dresses.
She's like, let's eat and drink and be merry tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so he's like, yeah.
Sounds
that's
like
cool.
a plan.
I just thought it was kind of odd that it was, what if he'd refused and said, ask me again next year? Like she would have wasted that moment,
But again, the heart of the Lord, God has the heart of the king in his hands. So he wasn't going to allow it.
What were you going to say, Andy?
There's probably a lot of like invisible stuff that answers these questions. Like it probably would have been, I'm postulating, it would have been improper for her to ask him them. And the correct way to do that was to prepare a meal and stuff like that. You know what I mean? This could all be like explained by like societal norms,
their custom
and their customs that we just don't know.
Yeah.
True.
Right? So that she could have been doing it the only right way.
I'm going to search that out. You are probably right. She could have been doing it
the only right way.
She knew she was going to have to present the most important request ever. Her life and everyone else is dependent on her. She's like, I'm going to do all the proper things here to get him to where he knows I've give him
you hear the way she's talking to him. He's already said, whatever you want, it's yours. And her verbiage is still very much, you are the king, you shall do as you desire. I am always giving you an out. Every statement provides him with if you think it's a good idea. Everything she says is like I'm going to go left. As long as you think that's cool, that never goes away.
Yeah.
Not for an instant.
That's an excellent point.
And I wonder. Doesn't say this. It only talks about what happens with Haman afterwards. I wonder after he gets loosened up by the wine, if he enjoys the queen.
Oh, you mean like a nighttime?
In the evening.
Oh, that's a great point.
After Haman, because it says Haman leaves. Joyful. He leaves joyful, but it doesn't say the king goes anywhere. It's
That's
just,
true. And
we don't know what happens with
Reasonable.
the king.
it would make sense that they probably
but he's
did.
all kind of lubricated with wine, and she is
She's using some choice words tonight.
You said that.
he used
You
it.
said that.
But
I don't think I've ever been lubricated with wine.
then you haven't done it right.
Maybe some Mad Dog
I thought
2020.
you're supposed to drink it.
Oh my goodness.
But, I mean, he has
there it is.
Covers everything tonight.
There's the warning.
Wow.
There's the warning.
Yeah.
but loosened. He was loosened. And then I wonder if she kept him in the night.
Yeah, I mean, she knocked his Persian socks off that night, I
Yeah.
bet
She
you.
was his wife.
It's a great point. I mean, obviously,
30 days.
we're speculating.
30
without it.
days.
30 days.
Oh, man.
I'm all wind up.
She got him wound up.
And she's leaving a little bit of mystery out there in the air, which is
I'll tell you
Y'all
what my
know a
request is
mysterious
tomorrow.
woman.
Yeah.
is an
Yeah,
attractive
if she
woman.
knocks his socks off that night, can you imagine what the next night's going to be like? That's
And
a
he
good
gets
point.
to eat.
Oh, Lord.
The way to a man's heart, as they say.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Exactly.
She must have been a little bit of Southern.
Yeah.
Or
What-
men have just always been the same.
He said,
One of the two.
Bingo.
Is that
That's
biscuit?
it.
Yeah, it's probably
started with
that. It's
Adam.
probably that one there.
Started
is that
with Adam.
biscuits and gravy on that table in there, girl?
That was what was on the tree. It wasn't an apple.
Yeah,
it was
it was.
biscuits and gravy.
Biscuits
Right.
and gravy.
Now I want biscuits and gravy.
I know. Man, do you mind, Sarita to read now verses 9 through 14, just all the way finish out the chapter?
Sure. And Haman went out that day joyful and glad of heart. But when Haman saw Mordecai in the king's gate, that he neither rose nor trembled before him, he was filled with wrath against Mordecai. Nevertheless, Haman restrained himself and went home. And he sent and brought his friends and his wife Zeresh. And Haman recounted to them the splendor of his riches and the number of his sons and all the promotions with which the king had honored him, and how he had advanced him above the officials and the servants of the king. Then Haman said, "Even Queen Esther let no one but me come with the king to the feast she prepared. And tomorrow also I'm invited by her together with the king. Yet all this is worth nothing to me, so long as I see Mordecai the Jew sitting at the king's gate." Then his wife Zeresh and all his friends said to him, "Let a gallows 50 cubits high be made, and in the morning tell the king to have Mordecai hanged upon it. Then go joyfully with the king to the feast." This idea pleased Haman, and he had the gallows made.
So the story's starting to get a little bit more diabolical as we go. So Haman's coming out. He's been drinking. He's had a good time. He's got, his heart is merry because the king and his wife just had him at this feast, and she wants him to come back tomorrow. And he walks outside, and there's that pissant little irritating Mordecai. And he's like, "You got to bow." And he's like, "Not gonna happen today."
There's got to be something else.
Tomorrow's
besides
not looking
bowing.
good either.
Huh?
There's got to be something else besides bowing.
No.
Well, it says he
it's-
wouldn't rise or bow.
Yeah, like
know,
that was the decree that
I know,
everybody
I
had to
know.
bow to Haman, and that's what he wanted. If he would have bowed the knee, none of this would happen. Isn't that what you said, Sarita? If he'd have just bowed the knee. So he walks outside and is like, "Yeah, you pain in the ass,"
In your sackcloth and all that.
And your ashes.
Yeah.
I do think this is one of those circumstances where I think Billy's question is valid. I think there's probably a lot more going on here, and it's lost to time.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I can only go off what I'm seeing here. That's what we're all
Sure.
doing. We're speculating, and that's what this show's
Absolutely.
about, opinion and
Exactly.
speculation. So it's quite possible that there is more. And we do know that there's a background between these guys, right?
Absolutely.
Maybe somebody else wasn't bowing, but we don't hear about him.
Right.
Because he's already been executed, or he's going to get executed. Or we don't hear about him. But this is the enemy of the Jew.
Well,
There's
there's even the part where isn't he Hamish is from some line that is
Yes.
from
Haman.
So there is a second bigger story going on here where they're
A
being
1,000?
stand-ins for a cultural battle that has happened this long, and I do
Kind of
suspect
like a
there's probably
Hatfield and
more going on.
McCoy situation.
A little
You know
bit,
what I mean?
yeah.
It was probably generational.
It's a 1,008-year grudge.
Only a Jew.
Exactly.
I'm kidding.
But no, thank you for being so racist. That was the point, though.
A racist would say.
But that's the point. Is like they're enemies. They just are,
Yeah.
and he is the second most powerful man in the empire, and this guy will not give him what he wants.
And I love how he calls his sycophants and his wife over and says, "Look at me. I am like the man."
Yeah.
Well, I'm not the man, but I'm the man
under the man.
I am the
That's
man.
what you want to be, isn't it?
A man under the man.
That was when he went to prison.
Comes
As they say in Seinfeld, not that there's anything wrong with that. But there's like, yeah, he's got that. He gets home and his friends, and he's with his wife. And he starts, read that again, Sarita, what he says to them about it says, and Haman recounted to them.
And Haman recounted to them the splendor of his riches, the number of his sons, all the promotions with which the king had honored him, and how he had advanced him above the officials and servants of the king. He even said, "Even Queen Esther let no one but me come with the king to the feast she prepared, and tomorrow also I'm invited by her together with the king. Yet all this is worth nothing to me, so long as I see Mordecai the Jew sitting at the king's gate."
Have you ever met a person that always has this perennial black cloud over their head?
Yeah.
You ever met somebody
Charlie
like
Brown.
that? Yeah, well, it's just, I mean,
I didn't meet him.
no.
Not Charlie Brown.
No. What are we talking about here?
She said
I think
Charlie
she means
Brown.
Pigpen always has that proverbial.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was Pigpen. Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, I know a guy.
It never once occurred to
Debbie
me that might be
Downer on
metaphor.
SNL.
I know a gal.
I know, right?
Never.
Never thought I was
Never
metaphorical.
thought that could have been metaphor. Nope,
Yeah.
just now occurred
He was just
to me.
a dirty, scummy kid.
I'm old. It's many 40 in some years. And now it just occurs to me that could be metaphor.
Well,
How about
Sorry.
Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh?
Winnie the Pooh.
well, there's a whole thing about
No.
how each one of the characters in Winnie the Pooh are a type of drug. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah.
The
I
A.
haven't
Milne
seen
was
that one.
very aware of all the drugs, and so you had like the Downers, which was Eeyore.
Do you remember
then you had
Debbie Downer
Rabbit.
from
He was
SNL,
a donkey.
though?
Yeah, he was a donkey, huh?
Do you remember Debbie Downer from SNL?
Yes.
That was literally one of the best skits
Yeah.
they ever did on that show. Cause he's her.
Yeah.
Everything great's going on, and she's like, "But you could like blow your head off."
Yeah. Yeah, I mean but this guy, he's got the whole world is his oyster. He's got everything. But that one thing
Yeah.
is really getting
He's got
to him.
that pride.
It's
People
under
got
his
that
skin.
pride.
Yeah. And so there he is, that pissant. He's just driving me crazy. So at the end of this, his wife, whose name is Zeresh, I looked it up. It's Persian origin, and it means misery. Her name means misery and strange. That's what her name means. His
Wow.
Now
wife.
I have
uh,
a mental picture of
So
what
let me
she
ask
looked
you
like.
this: do you think maybe she at
Kathy
somewhere
Bates for
important
misery.
time
Oh no. Okay.
was related to Jezebel?
Was she?
I wonder if she was. The only reason I say that is kind of like she does the same thing that Jezebel did. So Jezebel's husband was pouting,
Yeah, Ahab.
and so she then says, "Well, we'll just kill them all."
Right. Like every good wife should say.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
But so you got the same thing here, though. You got the same thing, honey. Don't be whiny about it or mad. Just do this with him.
Yeah, go build a
Right.
gallows.
And she tells him to look, just go build a gallows 50 cubits high. Did some ancient math here.
Whip that right up.
Yeah. And
So
they
this-
do actually.
So she like
run
knew-
Was
over
she
the
like an
sawmill.
engineer?
I was gonna say like she wasn't just like go build a gallows. She was like she drew him up a
50
set of
cubits
plans.
by.
The mega gallows.
She probably knew her husband so well that she had a file somewhere to bring it out for his black cloud that day. But the 50 cubits, so 1 cubit equals 18 inches. So 50 of those is 900 inches. And so if you divide that by 12, which is a standard feet, it's 75 feet, or basically roughly a 6-story building.
Wow.
Now, but what's really interesting,
Could you even see him hanging there?
yeah, on a hillside. That's where they're going to hang him, is on a hillside.
Oh.
This is
That's
really,
in the next chapter. It tells you it's a hillside, but the reality is that he's so upset that in order to cheer him up, she said, "Let's go do some crafting on top of the hill up here." And what does the last verse say?
Get
The
Jew.
idea pleased Haman, and he had the gallows made.
So, but what she had told him is to go and kill him before the feast
yes.
the next day. So we don't know what time this took place. By the time, if it's a 24-hour period from the last time they had the feast, we really don't know exactly when the feast is going to begin. But it creates a problem, because do you remember Mordecai is Esther's uncle, And Mordecai, she's trying to save her people, but what is going on is that he's going to be dead before the feast, before she can even get the request out from the king. So this is a problem. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I didn't see that.
But Esther, her mission is to save the Jews, not Mordecai.
It would be a good thing to do that. But she still has a mission to focus on and saving her own neck and the rest of her people. Now, Mordecai.
And she has no clue.
Yeah, she has no clue the intrigue going
Haman
on.
is wanting to
and that's
kill
the point,
Mordecai,
I think, is that there's so many different things hanging in the balance. When you think God's not there, he's all over it. He's all over this story.
Well, how do they have the right to hang him, though?
Because he's the most powerful man, and he already broke the law. He broke the decree.
But he can't. He's not supposed to kill anybody until the third day of the 5th month of the 12th year or the whatever. Like 1 year from now.
It's almost like just because I'm going to go home and I'm mad and the wife says, let's do this. And it's almost, we're just going to hang somebody up there and just...
he's got a lot of clout.
Yeah, I think that's the
maybe
deal.
he's above the law.
Yeah, he's not hanging him because
there's
he's
no
a Jew.
legality
He's just
there.
hanging him because he's not bowing, right?
Yeah, I think he is the law.
Yeah.
Well, it calls him the enemy of the Jew, but I guess you're right. Probably in this case, he's just loathing Mordecai to the point it's making him irritated. And so his wife cheers him up by saying, let's just kill him.
Yeah, and he's drunk on top of that.
Yeah.
Watch this. I'm going to be able to gallow.
Yeah.
That sounds like a great idea.
Hey, y'all, watch this.
Watch
Yep.
this.
Hold my
Yeah.
beer.
Hold my bear.
Oh, my beer.
In this case, my wine. Hold my wine.
Hold my wine, queen.
Yes.
Yas, queen.
Yas, queen.
So whenever
Is that a thing
Here,
now?
Miss-
Is that a thing for us?
you did
Here,
not know?
misery. Hold my wine.
yeah, hold my wine, Misery.
Oh,
God, have
boy.
you ever seen Misery? With
Yes.
Kathy
Yes.
Bates?
No, I've never actually seen it. No.
Oh, you gotta watch it.
She can't
No,
play
you
in any
don't.
other movie
It's-
now.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, she can. She's doing all kinds of stuff.
She can, but she can't.
Kathy Bates?
Yes.
She was the unsinkable Molly Brown in Titanic.
But I'm saying like that, you can't go anywhere but misery.
So when you see unsinkable
Fried
Molly
green
Brown,
tomatoes?
I don't care what you see her in. All I see is
a sledgehammer, Mr. Smarty Pants.
you're gonna finish the book.
That's right, man. Well, anyway, Misery, his wife has cheered up her husband because the last one it says, well, so the idea pleased Haman and he had the gallows made. And so he wants to take Mordecai and put him on the highest place on the highest gallows to show the highest amount of dishonor possible. He wants to hang this man so everybody can see him.
That's interesting. So that equates to more dishonor?
Yes, because he's just hanging his enemy. Do you really want to cross Haman? No. And so that he's hanging him. He probably wouldn't have got a proper burial. Again, we're just speculating here, but it's obvious. And I know what's coming in the next chapter. The next chapter is awesome. And I think that Haman probably slept like a baby that night. He was pretty pleased with himself. Had a little drink in him. His wife cheered him up. He knew he was going to kill his enemy the next day, so he slept like a baby. And that's all I got for this study. You guys got anything you want to bring out or any questions? Got any
I think
jokes?
we brought it all out already.
Got any jokes besides just the tip or the other stuff you guys were saying?
You know you liked it.
That's what she said.
Terrible.
Well, I didn't bring any jokes this week. I can't believe it.
What?
I'm on a vacation.
Oh, I have a joke.
Yes,
Oh,
we got a joke.
score.
Bring it.
Cool.
Okay. Now, there is a Pentecostal preacher, a Baptist preacher, and a priest in a fishing boat. Okay?
Okay.
And they're out there fishing. Well, they get down and the priest says to the other two preachers, he says, oh, we only have one worm left. I'm going to go get some more. So he hops out of the boat, walks across the water, goes to get the worm. The Baptist preacher's sitting there like, oh my gosh, nobody has ever walked on water but Jesus. So he's thinking, what is going on? This boat's going to sink. Priest comes back, gets in the boat. Everybody starts fishing again. Fishing a little bit longer. They realize down to one worm. So the Pentecostal preacher looks over at him and says, all right, guys, I'll go get him this time. Hops out of the boat, walks on the water, goes over there, and the Baptist preacher's sweating now. He's like, oh my gosh, I don't even know what's going on here, right? Pentecostal preacher comes back, gets in the boat, they keep fishing. Well, they get down to the last worm. The Baptist preacher's sweating. He's like, oh my gosh. He goes, well, okay, guys. I'll go get the worm. So hops out of the boat, sinks. So the priest looks over at the Pentecostal preacher and he says, you reckon he didn't know where them rocks were?
That's good.
There you go.
Well, so did you know, this is very short and to the point, but do you know how modern Moses was? He was the first one to ever connect the tablet to a cloud.
That's pretty good. I like it.
Yeah. Anyway.
Well, it's not bad, really.
No, that's clever. Yeah, I'll give him that.
Well, thanks so much for being here, guys. I'm really getting into this. The next chapter is when this story really starts taking off. I mean, it's been building and building and building, and then here we go. So chapter 6, it really takes off. And I think there's 10 chapters, 10 chapters. I haven't even looked, but it's really getting ready to get very interesting. And I love this story. So Billy, thanks for being here. Sarita, Cherry, thank you for being here. Andy,
Thanks,
you're
Rick.
always here. You have to
Thank
be.
you.
Yeah, but thanks for
you,
joining
Rick.
in. Yeah, and I
Go
love
get some
Giraffe
biscuits and
Studio
gravy.
here.
Y'all come back now, you hear?
We haven't mentioned Giraffe Studio, but if anybody's listening, you're in the local area, you need any recording done, you should come to Giraffe Studio.
Totally.
You get
Andy's
excellent
the man.
service.
Yes.
Yeah,
I have stools and I keep them tight.
And he'll let you have water and unlimited, very cheap granola bars if you need them.
Yeah, sure, as many as you want.
He hasn't offered me water.
Or
He hasn't?
he hasn't
Well,
given me a granola
you're still
bar.
a rookie. You're still a rookie.
You haven't earned your
I
water.
haven't earned my
Yeah,
water yet. Okay.
Actually, I don't have any granola bars. You just kind of reminded me that I need to buy some granola.
Yeah, you need to get some of those cheap ones
Yeah.
so that are really, really dry that make you want to drink water. Anyway, thanks again. And I hope you guys are excited about, chapter 6. Like I can't wait. Anyway, we will talk to you guys next time on the Burrows of Berea. Hey guys, this is Rick from the Burrows of Berea. Do you know how much blood, sweat, and tears it takes to make a podcast? None. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't cost a lot. And so if you guys don't mind, if anybody would like to give to help us with these episodes, it would be great. We'll put out even more content. And if you go to our Patreon page, just search for the Burrows of Berea, you'll get extra notes, extra episodes, and it's pretty much free. $1 gets you a lot. Thanks, guys.
Andy, so the Yas Queen, when did that start, Sarita? It started with kids, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know there's recordings probably all the way back to at least 5 or 6 years ago on like a cartoon. And they just, for some reason, say, Yas Queen.
Oh, I knew it was a thing in the world. I just didn't know it was a thing here.
Obviously.
It's just because it's
For Esther, it's a thing.
Yeah, Esther
Okay.
and the Queen.
Okay.
And okay. I thought you hadn't heard it at
No,
all.
I know. No, I
And
just meant like, 'cause there was this huge chorus and I was like, I feel left out.
I have teenage girls.
Yeah.
Yas Queen.
Yeah,
I get that all the
So
time.
yeah, I have one teenage daughter, and then the other one thinks she's a teenage daughter.
She's a tweener?
So, yeah, she's
the upcoming
Yeah, she's
queen.
like a 18-yearold,
Jeez.
10-year-old. So, but yeah, there's all kinds of little things they learn, like sheesh and YOLO, and yeah, sheesh is a good one. And,
YOLO is so old.
Yeah,
It's so
yeah,
old.
that's,
They're bringing it
that's-
back.
Yeah, they are bringing it back. It is coming back.
What is
Really?
that?
FOMO, you know what FOMO is?
Fear of missing out.
Yep, number one fear among people 30
about-
and younger.
How about, you know what homo is?
Nope.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Homo sapien.
So,
There you go. Yep.
And then
Anyway.
if you chunk something, it's a yeet. You yell yeet
Yeah.
when you
Yeet.
throw it. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
I
But
didn't know any
anyway,
of this.
that's just
You
I'm gonna
yeet
try
it.
that. I'm gonna throw
You
some at
yeet
Rodney
it.
and
You
see if he
yeet
catches
it.
on before it hits him.
so.
You're
Anyway,
supposed to
We
catch
are
it.
so cool. I had
know
no
it's
idea.
how cool we are.
yeah, exactly.
We are not cool. We are cool adjacent.
Yeah.
We just can't use it.
I'm not even
because they
cool
get mad.
adjacent.
Hola, yo me llamo Sarita. Would you like me to read in Spanish?
Yes, please.
Bueno, Jesus.
Good Jesus.
Andy's in there
That
cussing
was
his.
Bueno.
What'd you say?
Bueno,
Jesus.
Bueno.
Man.
I had to let the farm out.
Right.
All 4 dogs. I was
petting
like,
zoo.
go
Is
away.
the cat still inside?
Yeah.
Donkeys are back here.
Yeah. Donkeys, cat, dogs.
Oh.
Lord. Yeah, we're going.
We rolling?
Yep.